Good evening, everyone. Dottie Hunter is on vacation. Isabella County Sheriff's officials announced that a man charged on 5 felony counts stemming from a kidnapping killed himself in the maximum security area of the jail early today. The dead man was identified as Bradley John Kintner of Clare. The 26-year-old Kintner was returned from Tennessee June 7th and arraigned in Isabella County Friday. He was bound over for trial after being charged with kidnapping, first-degree criminal sexual conduct, armed robbery, unlawfully driving away an auto, and larceny by conversion. Sheriff Mull stated the incident was discovered about 2 this morning. A fatal accident last night in Newaygo County contributed to the at least 9 weekend highway deaths. 14-year-old Raymond Ledekma of Grant died at 11:45 last night when the car in which he was a passenger left the road and rolled over in Brooks Township. He wore no seatbelt. It was a strange year for students in Buckley. When they went to school, they weren't in school. That situation may be cleared up Monday. Jerry Meyer clears up the mystery now.
In the little Wexford County community of Buckley, students attend classes in stores, churches, portable classrooms, and a few rooms in the main school building. The campus plan was not designed by the school board, but it was put into effect after the state fire marshal said the main school was unsafe and ordered it closed. Last November, the school district voters turned down a request for just under $3 million to build a new school. This time, there has been more citizen input. Monday's request is for $1.6 million. The figure was pared down by using a wood building similar to one in Kingsley and the reduction from 50,000 to 33,500 square feet, plus a drop in interest rates. Citizens who opposed the original proposal said the expensive building would have taken funds from curriculum.
The new proposal, of course, cannot answer the question of operational millage because it cannot be used for operational millage. However, the amount of millage that would be needed for this new building is substantially less than the previous proposal. One of the ways in which we have tried to correct that problem or attack that problem is the board approved a 7-period day in the June meeting. This provides then more class time during the course of the day, more class periods, to be able to offer more varied curriculum on the 7-12 level.
If voters say yes on Monday, it'll be at least another school year before all of the students will be housed under one roof. Jerry Meyer, Newsscene 9 and 10, Buckley.
Meanwhile, national honors have gone to a pair of northern Michigan schools. Shea Elementary School in Harbor Springs and St. Mary Cathedral School in Gaylord were among 13 private and public elementary schools in the state to be cited for outstanding use of resources. There were over 500 entries in the national competition. Back with more news in just a moment.
What a combination. Quality used cars, a great price, and cash back. Right now at all 3 Al Bennett locations, we're giving cash rebates on all our used cars. Buy this 81 Eldorado for just $89.95 and get $300 cash back. Or this 84 Lincoln, just $15,995 and get $1,200 cash back. Quality cars, great prices, and cash back at all 3 Al Bennett locations.
Al Bennett is the healing man.
Daniels Pole Buildings of Merritt, Michigan will assure a quality structure designed for your exact needs and built for the area's varying climate using Fabrile steel and Owens Corning fiberglass insulation. Call Collect for a free estimate. Daniels of Merritt, Michigan, where you get what you pay for. Join in the fun at the Manistee National Forest Festival, July 2nd through July 6th. The 4th of July Grand Parade starts at 10 a.m. Visit the famous art train, hear the Lions All-State Band. Food, rides, fireworks, and fun. July 2nd through the 6th in Manistee.
Those magnificent men and their flying machines were in Grand Traverse County today for an afternoon of thrills and chills. John Gauss has the story.
This air show featured death-defying stunts executed at breakneck speeds with little concern for the safety of the pilots. That's because the pilots of these planes never leave the ground. This was the 10th annual Traverse Area Model Pilots Air Show, a chance for model pilots from all across the state to strut their stuff.
wintertime up here, guys can't do too much flying, so they spend a lot of time building these airplanes. And then this is really the first opportunity we have in a public way to demonstrate what we can do with these airplanes.
You get to meet a lot of different people, different walks of life.
It's just a lot of nice people and airplanes, and we come and fly and have a good time.
Many of the planes featured were scale models of the actual aircraft. This model Cub is exactly 1/2 the size of the original. Because there are no humans in the aircraft, the pilots are able to attempt stunts you'd never see an actual airplane perform. One pilot said the best thing about model air shows is that everyone shares flying secrets with everyone, and that makes the flying better. John Gauss, Newsscene 9 and 10, Grand Traverse County.
Demonstrators protesting U.S. aid to Nicaraguan rebels doused part of the federal building in Lansing yesterday with what they said was human blood, and then staged a sit-in for 3 hours. The protesters vowed not to move until arrested, but had to settle for leaving without a trip to jail. 2 protesters were dragged out of an office just before business hours ended. Fire inspectors have closed 2 rooming houses in Detroit for code violations in the wake of a rooming house fire that killed 4 people and injured at least 20 others earlier this week. The Detroit fire marshal says one of the homes was owned by the same people who owned the rooming house that burned Wednesday morning. The other house was in another person's name, but with the same owner's address as the first. The fire marshal says there were no accessible exits, fire extinguishers, or smoke detectors. Mackinac Island is, by any account, a unique place, perhaps all the more so today. 2 Grand Rapids disc jockeys believe they may have set a world record there, the record for live broadcast from a moving horse and carriage. Andy Rent and Dennis Sutton were on the air from 5:30 to 10 a.m. yesterday. They interviewed Fudge King Harry Ryba, tour driver Jim Pettit, and his 2 horses, Willie and Jim. The latter 2 declined comment. We'll be back in just a moment with a brief look at weather.
Beautiful wood furniture is nature's own creation. At the Pinery in Traverse City, stroll through the largest inventory of unfinished furniture north of Detroit. But the Pinery is more than pine. Quality, inexpensive furniture can be yours in oak, maple, ash, beech, or cherry. You can finish it yourself. We have a complete line of products and free expert advice. Or let our skilled craftsmen do it for you. Enjoy elegant wood furniture from the Pinery. See us at our new location, 955 South Airport, just east of Cherryland Mall, Traverse City.
The price of freedom has never been lower at Burnside GMC Coachman RV Center in Houghton Lake. It's the time to make a deal of a lifetime on a new Coachman RV. Interest rates are at their lowest in years, and Burnside selection and prices have never looked better. A 1986 21-foot Coachman Mini, equipped not stripped, just $22,500. An 86 18-foot Coachman travel trailer, only $7,500. We are only at liberty to make the price of freedom this low until July 7th at Burnside GMC Coachman, M55, Houghton Lake.
It's time for the National Cherry Festival, and time for Max's Pre-Cherry Festival Extravaganza. At Max's, we love the Cherry Festival, but due to all the festivities, we lose a week's worth of business. So from now until Cherry Festival week, all those great GE refrigerators and ranges, washers and dryers, dishwashers and microwaves will be reduced for this special event. Pre-Cherry Festival savings from Max's and GE, and you'll get a free cherry pie with every major purchase. Max's annual Pre-Cherry Festival Extravaganza, downtown Traverse City.
I'm Donna Smith, your host for the Cherry Festival Lunch Break shows. We get underway July 3rd live from the Clinch Park Zoo in Traverse City. The next week, we look at highlights of the cherry industry, including growing, harvesting, and processing. Of course, we'll have features on cooking with cherries, and we will also wrap up live on July the 11th from the open space in Traverse City. Please join us beginning July 3rd for the Cherry Festival Lunch Break show, sponsored by New Cherry Crush, Northwest Michigan Pontiac Dealers, and Spartan Stores. That's here on TV 9 and 10.
Should be a pretty nice day tomorrow, and we'll get there by way of a nice evening tonight. Let's take a look at the forecast. In the eastern upper peninsula, it'll be fair tonight with a low in the low to mid 50s, and tomorrow partly cloudy and cooler, high in the low 70s. The forecast for northern lower Michigan for tonight, there's a slight chance of thunderstorms becoming fair and sunny by tomorrow. The winds will be out of the northwest, lows in the mid to upper 50s this evening. We'll be back in just a few moments with a look at the sports for the evening.
for special tag sale prices at the Little Red Shoe House. On fashions to accent a wardrobe. And fashions to move you. Fashions to fit you and your family. At the Little Red Shoe House, look for special tag sale prices now through July 5th.
If you're concerned about your weight, don't miss the television special, Can You Be Thinner? You'll learn about the incredible weight loss discovery that allowed this woman to lose 22 pounds, this man to lose 29 pounds, and this woman to lose more than 8 pounds in one single week. Hosted by Marlo Bendel, Can You Be Thinner gives you important advice from weight loss specialist Dr. Jeffrey D. Feldstein and expert on behavior modification, Jonathan Hohen. Don't miss Can You Be Thinner?
Watch tomorrow at 12 noon.
In sports, Darrell Evans hit a 2-run homer and Kirk Gibson homered and scored 3 runs today as the Tigers defeated the Milwaukee Brewers 8-5 for their 4th consecutive victory. Detroit is now 36-35 and over the 500 mark for the first time since the end of May. Tim Matthews, a 26-year-old professional from Pine View Country Club in Three Rivers, posted a birdie on the 18th and final hole yesterday to claim the victory at the $55,000 AAA Michigan Open. Matthews was tied with Grosse Pointe Woods pro Jack Seltzer and Lynn Jansen from Comstock Park, teeing off on the final hole of the Bear at Grand Traverse Resort Village. Meanwhile, Australian Greg Norman barely made the 36-hole cut in the Canadian Open Golf Tournament, but the tour's leading money winner roared into contention today. Norman equaled the course record with a 10-under par 62 to tie Andy Bean for the lead midway through the 3rd round. The 31-year-old Norman had 10 birdies, an eagle, and 2 bogeys. After 3 rounds, he's at 6-under par 210. Bean started the day at 6-under and had a late tee-off time. At Wimbledon, the top 2 women's seeds were winners in today's 3rd round play. Top seed and defending champ Martina Navratilova handily defeated Kristen Kinney 6-love, 6-2, and then complained she hasn't had a true test of her skills yet. Second seed Chris Evert Lloyd had an easy time too. She defeated Kathy Horvath 6-4, 6-1. And in men's play, 5th-seeded Stefan Edberg noted for being a strong grass court player, lost to Mieczysław Machir of Czechoslovakia 6-4, 6-4, 6-4. Machir seems to have Edberg's number. The Swedes never won a set in 3 matches against him. And finally, the drunken driving trial of MSU's Scott Skiles has been postponed because of a scheduling conflict. Skiles, a star at MSU who was just drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks, was to have gone on trial July 10th before an East Lansing judge, but his lawyer and the East Lansing city attorney agreed to delay until July 30th because the earlier date conflicts with the arresting officer's vacation. That's the news, weather, and sports for this early Saturday evening. We'll be back at 11 o'clock with more news and weather and sports. Good evening.
And now, News and Views. A closer look at the news behind the news. The issues affecting the lives of Michigan citizens.
Good evening. Welcome to News and Views. I'm Donna Smith. A 10.2-mile stretch of M72 west of Traverse City toward Empire has become the subject of much controversy. Slated for road improvements several years ago by the Michigan Department of Transportation, some 300 maple trees were originally scheduled to be cut down. 2 citizen groups have formed with differing viewpoints on exactly which trees should be cut and for what reasons. Now, in the way of background, the Department of Transportation has entered into a consent agreement with the concerned citizens whose main objective was to save and protect the maple trees. This group had previously sought and achieved a restraining order halting the cutting of the trees. Another group, called the M72 Safety Project, would like to see the addition of yet a 3rd relief or passing lane. Now, on this map, these red areas are the indicated passing lanes. This passing lane and this passing lane have been added into the project. This is the passing lane in question. The entire question is very involved and really does not center around the issue of whether some maple trees should be cut or not, but rather it centers around what road repair is necessary for safety. I'd like to introduce our guests for this evening, we will hear 3 different points of view. First of all, Mark Martin is with us, and he represents the M72 Safety Project. A pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.
Jerome Seward is with us also, representing the Michigan Department of Transportation. He is the district engineer. A pleasure to have you also.
Thank you.
And Kathleen Cole is with us, representing the concerned citizens who originally organized in order to protect the trees. A pleasure to have you also. Now, Kathleen, you live in the vicinity of M72. Mark, I believe you live right on M72.
That's correct.
Well, let's begin, Kathleen, with you. Would you give us a rundown of your group and your viewpoint on all of this?
Yes, Donna, thank you. I'd like to start by saying that I sympathize with the group of citizens that is having to ask the state to once again backtrack and reinstate the passing lane. They are having to go to a lot of extra work, just as those of us interested in protecting the M72 trees did, due to the fact that there never was a public hearing in which both sides could be heard as far as the tree issue is concerned. When it was noticed by the citizens that the trees were to be cut, not an environmental group, initial calls were made to find out when this would occur. We wanted to know if there was time to notify others that, like ourselves, might not be aware of this. We found out that no one, including senators and state representatives, were aware that the trees were to be cut. We also found out that the cutting of these trees was never mentioned in a public hearing. At that point, we set up a meeting with Mr. Seward. At that meeting, we asked him to halt the cutting until the state would agree to a public hearing so that all sides could be heard. And the following question could be asked: is it necessary for those trees to be removed in order to ensure safety and receive federal funding? The state would not agree to a public hearing, so we were forced to acquire a temporary restraining order to buy time to try and convince the state to meet. A court date was set, but before we met in court, Senator Regal asked what he might do to help. What was requested of the senator was that he help secure for the citizens a public hearing. The night before the court appearance, we were informed that the state would meet with just the plaintiffs out of court, but not in a public hearing. When that closed hearing occurred, the state arrived with a whole new set of plans determined before any decisions between the plaintiffs and the state occurred. The majority of the trees remained, and one passing lane had been removed. We only had to ask for a guardrail to keep a row of 10 trees that would have been cut, and asked for additional planting of trees in areas where this had not been scheduled. It was also asked that road crews do selective cutting of other roadside trees to make M72 a more scenically pleasing road after road improvements were completed. The plaintiffs are willing to assist those who would like the passing lane reinstated, and through the court system lift the restraining order that prohibits the construction of the passing lane if the state is willing to move the road over to accommodate the passing lane and the trees. Had there been a public hearing that would have allowed the voicing of the desires to retain the passing lane, we would not have agreed to the present settlement, but worked with the state until a reasonable solution could have been agreed upon. The lack of a public hearing has caused more work for everyone.
Now, Kathleen, when you say the plaintiffs, you're referring to your organization.
That's right.
Okay, Mark, you represent the M72 Safety Project.
Yes. I represent some over 700 petitioners who are wondering how, in the first place, 5 people, none of them directly involved in road construction, could negotiate with the MDOT without consent or authority of the general public and could take away about $250,000 in badly needed road improvements, while the DOT was under contract with us to perform these improvements, and in doing so has compromised the safety of the community. All property owners on this stretch of road knew that the trees were going to be removed. They are old, they are dying, they are diagnosed by professionals as being diseased. I'd like to point out that one garbage truck or semi every 3 minutes travels both east and west on M72. Business has increased by 4 times, customers have increased by 10 times, and employees have increased by 5 times in the last 10 years on M72. Almost 1 million people will visit Sleeping Bear National Park, the new headquarters of which is going to be at the end of M72 in Empire. With traffic doubling or tripling in the next 20 to 30 years, now is the time to replace the trees, compliments of the DOT, and have a safe road for future growth. Some of these trees in question are less than 4 feet from the pavement when the road is going to be completed, hindering snow removal, causing drifting. They're an accident waiting to happen. If it is a question of heritage, there are rows of healthy trees on almost every county road in Leelanau and Benzie County. These trees are neither rare nor unique to the area and will be dead before any road projects in the future are even planned. And now the very people who have planted some of the trees and want to cut down the dying trees in their own yards cannot without penalty of fine or jail. Do you want a group of outsiders dictating your future landscaping, making it necessary to obtain a permit to cut down trees in your own yard? We don't feel either the tree group or the DOT had the right to secretly and deceptively compromise this project without the consent of the general public and the property owners.
Now, Jerome, you represent, of course, the Michigan Department of Transportation.
Yes, we were not aware of the concern that was expressed for the removal of the trees until April 4th, after the contract had been let and the project had been started. And on April 7th, a temporary restraining order was issued by Judge Brown halting the removal of trees, which effectively stopped the project. We spent the next 10 days reviewing very carefully the various aspects of the project and the various options that were open to the department. Three things need to be clarified for better understanding of the things that transpired. To begin with, the relief lane or the passing lane that you indicated in the center of the project was not a required addition to the project by any standard of the Department of Transportation or the Federal Highway Administration. It was included in the design as a desirable extra. Secondly, the project was designed in 1984 and very early 1985 under a set of standards that required the removal of all those trees. In October of 1985, the Department of Transportation, with concurrence of the Federal Highway Administration, relaxed the rules and guidelines concerning roadside trees on highways of this type and provided an option to the department. And then I think finally, the department is concerned not only with the interests of the roadside property owners and the other citizens in the area, we're concerned with the total transportation network for all travelers in the state of Michigan. We feel that the adjusted project, which leaves about 2/3 of the maples and removes one passing lane, is an acceptable, safe project. We felt that it was important that we deal with the matter very rapidly so that we could get on with the construction.
We'd like to thank all three of you, and we'll be back in a moment with more right after this.
Welcome to Burger King.
Yeah, Whopper extra onions, please.
No problem.
Whopper, no pickles.
No problem.
Hey, guys.
Cheeseburger, extra ketchup.
No problem.
Hold the tomato.
No problem.
At Burger King, we flame broil for a taste more like a backyard barbecue and fix your burger any way you like. But there is one way we can't fix your burger.
Fried burger, please.
Now we've got a problem.
I'm so embarrassed.
This is a Burger King town.
Neighbor's kid.
We know how burgers should be.
I'm Donna Smith, your host for the Cherry Festival Lunch Break shows. We get underway July 3rd live from the Clinch Park Zoo in Traverse City. The next week, we look at highlights of the cherry industry, including growing, harvesting, and processing. Of course, we'll have features on cooking with cherries, and we will also wrap up live on July the 11th from the open space in Traverse City. Please join us beginning July 3rd for the Cherry Festival Lunch Break show, sponsored by New Cherry Crush, Northwest Michigan Pontiac Dealers, and Spartan Stores. That's here on TV 9 and 10. We are discussing the controversy over road repair on M72 west of Traverse City toward Empire. Now, Mark, you made the statement that some of these maple trees are diseased. You believe they are?
Yes, they have been diagnosed as having lecinium, which is a small insect that embeds itself into the bark, and then the larvae grow and eat the foliage on the trees.
Can the trees be saved, in your opinion?
No. Once a tree is starting to die, it never comes back to life. You can only nurse it along and have the remaining part of it grow, and that's still questionable. They also suffer from maple decline, a combination of many things: road salt, carbon monoxide poisoning, acid rain, and root compacting. That's a statewide syndrome that's been occurring and shortening the life by 1/3 on maple trees.
Jerome, your opinion on this?
We acknowledge that there is some disease in the trees and that they're under stress. For that reason, we had a registered forester that was employed by the department, as well as an independent registered forester, inspect each maple tree. We marked for saving only those trees that were expected to live at least 10 years.
And Kathleen?
We were led to believe by the retired national forester that was the independent and by the state's forester that the trees that were saved were rated on a scale from 1 to 6. Those that were rated in 1 and 2 categories were eliminated from the saving procedure, protecting procedure, and those between 4 and 6 could remain. And it was estimated that a number of those trees could live to 200 to 250 years, possibly 300 years, and that's what we were going on, that claim.
I see, Mark, you're shaking your head, and we're just about out of time, so I'll let each of you conclude with your thoughts.
Well, I just feel that mainly I'm speaking for the majority of the citizens that are involved in this whole situation, and we really feel that we've been slighted by the whole situation.
How so?
Well, we were led to believe when we all signed contracts with the DOT that this passing lane was going to be included in the plan.
Jerome?
I'd like to close with one clarification. Mark had indicated that trees would remain within 4 feet of the pavement, and that's not true. The project, as presently designed, will have no trees closer than 20 feet to the edge of the pavement. That's the white line that marks the edge of the pavement.
And Kathleen?
Yes, I'd just like to reiterate that the initial request was to answer the question, is it necessary? The state came back with the answer, no, it was not. And the other request was
You're speaking of the passing lane.
Right.
The third passing
Well,
lane.
no, just the protection of the trees. Is it necessary to cut the trees? And the passing lane was removed. That's a separate issue. And also, will you please have a public hearing so that all views may be aired at that time, so that questions such as Mark's could have been answered then, and at that time we may have had a situation in which we wouldn't have to be sitting here right now.
Well, we have just a second left. Where do we go from here? What's next?
Well, I'd like to ask Jerry the question of why wasn't there a public hearing? Why was it settled out of court without getting a total viewpoint from the entire community?
Once a matter gets into litigation, it's inappropriate to have public hearings to try to dissolve legal matters.
Originally, though, Mr. Seward, we had asked for that to occur so that we wouldn't have to go into litigation. That was the last thing that we wanted, was to have to take the state to court.
And the point where that request was made would have required canceling this project for the summer. An official public notice of at least 30 days is necessary before a public hearing, and that would have effectively destroyed the project. We felt that it was important to go forward while the money was available and while the contract was in force.
I wish we had more time. Thank you very much for the three of you being here and expressing your viewpoint. We do appreciate it. And we hope all of you have a good week. See you back here next time for News and Views.
This has been News and Views, a public affairs presentation of TV 9 and 10.
Alcohol and other drug dependency can affect anyone, at any time, at any age. However, good things happen in recovery. Life takes on new meaning and joy. Families become free to express their feelings for one another. Recovery. It's a gift for the whole family. Call us. We're Munson Alcohol and Drug Treatment Program. Expertise when you need it most.
It's time for the National Cherry Festival, and it's time for Max's annual Pre-Cherry Festival Extravaganza. At Max's, we love the Cherry Festival, but due to all the festivities, we lose a week's worth of business. So from now until Cherry Festival week, all those great GE refrigerators and ranges, washers and dryers, dishwashers and microwaves will be reduced for this special event. Pre-Cherry Festival savings from Max's and GE, and you'll get a free cherry pie with every major purchase. Max's annual Pre-Cherry Festival Extravaganza, downtown Traverse City.